the audience. And so if I may, I'd like to ask our two very distinguished guests to come forward. But as they do, I'd like to acknowledge the presence of some other people who have attended today. And as I call your name, please stand. Ms. Phyllis Weinstein is the president of the Alabama Holocaust Commission. Thank you. Mr. Robert Lieberman, who was a concentration camp liberator and has participated in this program before. We are delighted to have you again here today. He is, right. And Ms. Toby Gawant, who is the Vice President for Programs of the Jewish Federation of Central Alabama. Thank you all for your attendance today. I'd like to welcome our special guests and just introduce them so that they can speak. To my far right is Max Herzl. Max Herzl was born in Antwerp, Belgium, and was 10 years old when the Germans invaded Belgium on May 10, 1940. As you will hear, after traveling 7 days and nights in a crowded boxcar, his family found refuge in southern France. After Germany subsequently defeated France, the family ended up in detention camps from which they eventually escaped. After the war ended, Max immigrated to the United States in 1948, initially settling in New York, and served 4 years in the United States Air Force during the Korean conflict. He is a retired executive from the Veterans Administration Medical Center in Birmingham and is a member of the Alabama Holocaust Commission and the Birmingham Holocaust Education Committee. This year, Max and his wife Cecile, who is also with us here today, will celebrate 55 years of marriage. They have a son and a daughter. Max, welcome. To my immediate right is Max Steinmetz. Max Steinmetz was born in Transylvania, Romania, in the town of Targo-Lapis. In 1941, Romania joined the Axis powers, and Max and his family were rounded up by German troops and forced into a ghetto. In late 1943, the family was deported to Auschwitz, where he was used as a slave laborer. Subsequently sent to other camps, he was liberated on May 2nd, 1945. Hospitalized for months after the war, in 1946, he applied for a visa to come to the United States, and it was approved in 1948. Working in the kitchen of the ship to pay his way, Max arrived in the United States in 1948. After brief periods of residency in Denver and Albuquerque, Max moved to Birmingham in 1955. He has been married to his wife Betty for 48 years, and they have 3 children and 6 grandchildren. A highly sought-after speaker, Max is a retired clothing executive. Max, welcome.
Thank you.
You want to go first? Go ahead.
Good morning. Is this thing working?
Yeah.
AUM, thank you so much for re-inviting me. This is my, I don't even know, Sheila, how many trips? 9th year. And I look forward to come here, especially when I see all these young people here, because those are the people that I want to hear my story. I go to a lot of schools, universities, and churches, and I tell them my story. But these are the people that I really want to touch. These are the people that's important to me. And I'm very glad to see you all here. As you heard, I was born in Transylvania, which at the time I was born was Hungary. No, I'm sorry, at that time was Romania. Prior to 1918, it was part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. In 1939, they gave this territory back to the Hungarians. Hitler gave it back because the Hungarians joined the Axis, which was part of Japan, Germany, and Italy, and also Hungary joined later on. So eventually, we were rounded up one morning and taken to a ghetto. The way we were rounded up, we had what they call a town crier. We didn't have all the modern facilities that we have today. So if the city had an ordinance or something they wanted us to hear, they had a man who was riding a bicycle and he had a little drum and he would ride out somewhere in an empty plaza and he would beat the drum and we would come out of the houses to listen what he had to say. Well, this day he told us that tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock, all the Jews must congregate right here, everybody, young and old, healthy and sick, everybody has to be out here by 6 o'clock. If you don't, we come into the houses and we'll kill you all. Well, we knew that they meant business. The following morning, we showed up as told, and we were taken to a ghetto. The ghetto was an abandoned factory. It was a brick factory where at one time they used to dry brick. But it was abandoned, and this is where they put us. And they brought in all the Jewish people from the surrounding areas, small communities, because where I lived was the county seat. So they brought them all in, they put them into this ghetto, whereby thousands of us. And we were there, not long, maybe for about 2 months. They fed us once a day. 2 months later, they rounded us up, and they marched us down to the railroad station. Everybody, young and old, healthy people, sick people, they even went to the hospitals and took all the pregnant ladies, infants that were just born yesterday or today, and brought them all down to the railroad station. When we arrived, now all this was taken care of by the Hungarian gendarmes or police. When we got there, the SS took over. The SS was Hitler's private army. And they took over, and there was a train on a railroad track. This train consisted of boxcars. These are boxcars that they load cement, lumber, sometimes cattle. They opened up these gates and they made us climb into these boxcars. And if you couldn't get up there, they picked you up physically and tossed you into the boxcars. Everybody. And they packed these boxcars so full that you could not move. If you were sitting down, you couldn't get up. If you stood up, there was no room to sit down. They gave each boxcar a couple of buckets of water and a couple of loaves of bread. They locked these doors, these gates, and off we went. We went for 3 days, over 4 days and 3 nights. We traveled. During the night, they would stop somewhere on a railroad track, open up, and let us out for 15 minutes. Take care of our necessities, then get back into the boxcars, and off we go. The 4th day, we arrived in a place called Auschwitz. I'm sure many of you have heard, or Oświęcim in Polish, but the Germans called it Auschwitz. We arrived, they opened up these gates, these doors, and the boxcars, and they made us climb out, those that could. 30% of the people in the boxcar died during this trip. Now, remember, they didn't feed us anymore. They didn't give us any water anymore. That was it. They were little babies. They were just a day, a week, a month old. There was no milk for these children. There was no medicine for anybody. 1/3 of us died. My family survived. Up to that point, they survived. We got off this train, and they lined us up, 6 abreast, and we faced the angel of death, Dr. Joseph Mengele. was his name. He was a medical doctor, a German